All right.
I'm the first.
All right, it is 6:30, so welcome to the School District of Osceola regular board meeting for Wednesday, April 30th, 2025. With that, I'd ask everyone to stand, remove their hats, and join us in the pledge of allegiance to start. I
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I do. So with that, I will start with a roll call. Jan? Here. Corey?
Here.
Tyson? And myself is here. Item 1D, public comment. I have an empty request, so we will move on to item E, which is student voice.
Okay, so this is a new piece of the agenda that you noticed. Having Eddie here is delightful and we love it, but after having Kristen speak, we were like, hey, let's bring as many student voices to the table as we possibly can. So, Mark, thanks.
All right, I'd like to introduce Marcus Gilbertson, He was selected this year, earned this year the male scholar athlete for Osceola. And what that entails was we had a nice little, every year since I can be around here in the year when it first started, maybe 2001. The Middle Border Conference has gotten together with all our school and the other 7 other schools in our conference and celebrated and recognized these fine young men and women in our conference. And Marcus is here today. It's academically, it's athletically, but it's also what he's been able to do in the school as a leader as well, that's being recognized as well. And I think one thing that is quite true, Marcus is a great athlete, great student, but what Coach Hahn said at the banquet also is what kind of a person he is and what kind of a leader he is with other kids in our building as well. And we could not find a nicer student to represent OHS. So without further, because I'll take away the noise from you, Marcus. Okay. Marcus is going to provide, though I think what he's going to do is that part of the process with the Scholar Athlete Banquet is each student had to get up there and provide a statement of what athletics, academics has done for them, and also a person or persons in their life that's made an impact in their life.
Okay. Ever since I was little, I wanted to be a chieftain athlete. From a young age, I looked up to the big high schoolers who played in front of everybody, but that's all I saw. I never knew how hard it was or how much work it took to compete at the high school level. As I got older, success in the classroom also became important to me. I wanted to be as smart as my friends or other peers around me, but it didn't all come naturally to me. I had to work, and still do, in order to keep up with those closest to me in the classroom. The biggest lesson I've learned in athletics and academics during my time as a chieftain is to put in the work when nobody's watching you or expecting you to. It pays off. One person who embodies this fully is my grandpa Jim. As a longtime teacher and coach, he knows what it takes to be great. He has been a great mentor to me, passing down his wisdom and getting the best out of me. He always knows what to say, when to say it, whether I ace a test or lost a heartbreaking game. Thank you, Grandpa, for leading me in the right direction and pushing me to be my best. I also want to thank my parents, teachers, and coaches. Thank you for helping me grow into the person I am today. Whether that's in the classroom, on the field or court, or at home, I wouldn't be where I am today without any of you. Thank you.
Marcus, real quick, what's your after school plans?
I'm going to Minnesota State Mankato to major in aviation.
Very cool. Mama, you'll be okay.
I don't know.
We know you'll be back.
Awesome. Thank you. All right. After that, we will move on to board business as usual with the consent agenda. Or you have the consent agenda before you. What would be your wishes? Motion by Jan. Second by Corey. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye. Opposed would be nay. That is approved. Item 3, retirements. We have 2 retirements before us. Jean Zoller, network support for 13 years, and Charlene Ogren, administrative assistant for 20 years. 33 years. It's a lot of time in the district.
And a lot of support for the district. He's given a lot to us.
That's always just a big thank you both.
Absolute best. I'll make a motion to approve the retirement for Jim
Motion by Tyson. Second by Jan. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye. Opposed would be nay. That is approved. Item 4 is our annual reorganization and delegates. Item A is review school board officer roles. So that is in our handbook. Anybody have questions about any of the duties or roles that come with these? Seeing none, we will move on to item B, which is determine the procedure to elect school board officers. So what I would need here is a motion to entertain either a verbal vote or a written vote, depending on how you would like to do it.
Last time we did it, I was fine when we did a verbal, so I'll make a motion to a verbal vote.
Motion by Cory. Second by Jan. Any further discussion? So when we get to the next item, the Robert's Rules of Order would say that we would open up the floor with a motion to accept nominations. And then we'll move through each position. The chair will start, and then if someone else gets appointed the chair position, then they would take over at that point. Otherwise, it would be a nomination, if there's one you would accept if you were nominated for that position, and then we do a vote in the board. So we'll just do a voice vote, as long as everybody's in agreement. So if there's a motion in a second, any further discussion or questions? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye. Opposed would be nay. That is approved. Item C is election of the school board officer positions. So I would entertain a motion to open the floor for nominations.
Make a motion to open the floor for nominations.
There's a motion by Kaisa. Second by James. Further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye. Opposed would be nay. That is, the floor is now open for nominations. First role would be the position of chair or president, depending on what purpose you use. Are there any nominations?
I'll make a nomination to appoint Brooke Culver as chair.
Okay. I will accept that. Are there any further nominations? Are there any further nominations? Are there any other nominations? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye. Opposed would be nay. Thank you. Next role would be vice president. Are there any nominations?
I'll make a motion to appoint Tyson as vice president.
Okay. Do you accept that nomination? Okay. Are there any other nominations? Are there any other nominations? Are there any other nominations? Seeing none, all those in favor of this role say aye. Opposed would be nay. Congratulations.
Thanks.
Next up would be clerk. Are there any nominations?
I'll nominate Cory for clerk.
Do you accept that nomination?
Yeah, I'll accept.
Are there any other nominations? Are there any other nominations? Are there any other nominations? Seeing none, all those in favor of Cory as clerk say aye. Opposed would be nay. Congratulations. The next role would be treasurer. Are there any nominations?
Nominate Jan.
Motion to nominate Jan. Jan, do you accept that role? Yes. All right. Are there any other nominations? Are there any other nominations? Any other nominations? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye. Opposed would be nay. Congratulations. Final role is director.
I'll nominate James to be elected.
Do you accept that role? Okay. Any other nominations? Any other nominations? Any other nominations? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye. Opposed would be nay. Congratulations. That concludes the election of the school board officer positions. So we'll move on to item 4D, which is review the 25-26 board meeting calendar. So for this item, I think it's important to note that we already did this However, James is coming on, and to be prudent to you, we want to give you the opportunity if there's any major conflicts. That being said, we all have to recognize that we will not be able to be at every meeting, right? So a quorum consists of 3 people. So if there's dates that we're looking at, we're gonna need to really work if there's more than one person, or if we have a trend or something that we're really missing. And I don't believe, so tonight's task was just reviewing it, seeing if we need to have dates that we'll look at, and we can have those conversations offline then, before the next one.
James says the time frame for committees at 5, so that we work meeting 6:30 for a regular meeting.
So I know that I would have a conflict with the January 7th date.
Alright, we'll keep a feedback, we'll have everybody else look at January 7th and just see. Alright,
And, like I said, it's March 18th. Works and break, and that might be another meeting.
okay. Alright. Let's all take a peek at those dates and we'll make sure that we either have a quorum, or if we need to readjust the dates, we can take a peek at it.
Does this calendar, I can't remember if we looked at this one, like, 7 school year.
We
This-
did.
Use the traditional amount of meetings per month, that was like 3 weeks.
Now you'll notice, like, this year in March, we ended up, I think, just having one, and it was very late because of spring break.
Yeah.
I mean, there's
Things happen.
Right. Alright. Thoughts, Becky, on that at all? No?
Can you take a look and see,
Sounds good. Alright, item E is appoint the CISA 11 delegate. So we typically have one delegate from our board that represents our school district and our region at the CISA 11 Board of Control. Would entertain a motion to nominate, CISA 11 delegate to our board.
And that's the first Thursday of the month, second Thursday.
I've done it, I'm happy to continue doing it, I enjoy it, I'm happy to do whatever the board would wish.
Nothing would bring me more joy than to make a motion to appoint Brooke as the CISA 11 delegate.
I really would.
I have one thing that's gonna bring me more joy, but it's item F.
Okay.
Oh, yeah.
So there's a motion by Corey. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Okay, second. Any further discussion?
Thank you for
Anybody-
doing that.
Yeah, if anybody ever wants to join, I'm happy to have them take along, so. All those in favor of that motion say aye. Opposed would be nay. That is approved. Item F is appoint the WASB delegate.
So, I've done this 3 times in the past. Oftentimes it falls to the newest member sitting at the table. How many is this? Oh, it's James. A lot of times people don't want to do it. I find it very beneficial. People that Oya knows in the audience too, it's really
I liked it.
eye-opening. I think you can learn a lot. I think it is important that we have a representative there, a delegate. It's, for the delegate assembly, that's at the convention in January, so I have no idea whether or not you know if you will be there or not. But even if you can't, you can still be involved with the process, because we discussed as a board kind of what they're doing ahead of time. I loved it. Have you?
Just in January?
Yes. I mean, in December, you get some reading materials to review. So Merry Christmas. I would like to appoint James, if that's okay, for to be the WASB delegate.
There's a motion by Kaisa, second by Corey. Any further discussion? We'll certainly give you more guidance as we get closer. Fair enough.
Just really, it's,
All those in favor say aye. Opposed would be nay. Congratulations.
and you get a pen. Big on pens.
Can't wait. Item 5 is reports. 5A is the board walkthrough summary, so the board convened at 5 o'clock to do an official walkthrough of our district, looking at our buildings and facilities with, Dr. Stiles and Shannon, our business manager, and Hunter. You wanna take it away, or do you have something to say too? Yes, or you want us to just report out?
Are you looking, yeah, who are you looking at? I was like, yeah, Hunter, if he's here. I would certainly
Okay,
not.
I just didn't know if there was more to it than
No, I
this,
was-
okay, perfect, who's over here there? All right, Corey, take us away. You nominated me? Turn on his fair play.
It all started on a somewhat warm April. No, we started here, we walked through our village, took a look at, some hot rooms. Some rooms that I hadn't been into yet, but the heat was good by the pool there. But it was, basically we got to see where some things are chipping, some things that need repair, we got to see some stairwells that have some issues, some leaks. We were on a rooftop of a couple buildings, that was actually kind of cool.
I actually learned a lot about the roofs and buildings
Yeah.
and why, it was very informative.
Yeah, and Hunter, you were a great guy. If you were bad, I still would have said you were great, so I don't know why you said that. Now this is awkward, and, yeah, one of the rooftops had rocks, the other one didn't, so we learned pricing differences between the two of them, and how fun it is to find the leaks on the intermediate school, one with the rocks. Saw the new postal, well, courier deal. Saw Jan got her picture taken where the freezer is gonna be going, it's Jan's baby.
Where?
It's there.
Well, not
It's the
going,
Jan
but,
Carlson Memorial.
yeah, but it's where her statue is going to go.
Yeah, that's where the statue's going, for sure.
Yeah, so, I don't know, it was a good walkthrough, and I'm glad we did it now too, with James being aboard, for him to be able to see it on the first day too of all that stuff. And, the tennis courts as well. It did look like a scene from, the 2012 movie where all the natural disasters happened, and you can see that huge crack going down. I literally felt like I was in a movie scene on that one. There's some bad spots there. So that definitely was, because I never get that close to the tennis court, so I was actually glad I got to go back there too, so, yeah.
We also got to see some of the like security upgrades too, some of the work that's been done, not only what needs to be done, but that was kind of neat too.
I would say, sorry,
No, go
hats
ahead.
off to the staff, the maintenance, the buildings look nice, buildings have age, they have a little newer, some old, and they all look well maintained, so hats off to the staff for the maintenance and keeping them nice, they are, there's Osceola right there, and it shows, so.
Addie, what'd you learn?
In these days, I guess at the middle school, I learned like where the different grades are now, to see their range.
Have you ever been up on the roof of the high school before?
Yeah. It's kind of scary.
And cool because it was bouncy.
Yeah, that's why it's scary.
And that was a nice thing though, with the rain shifts that are about to happen, to kind of now walk in and see, and kind of actually see how that's gonna kind of work. That was another benefit of the walkthrough.
Jan, how about you? It's not your first walkthrough, what did you?
No, I think it just reconfirms, like then on the tennis courts, obviously you need to figure out something like this. And then just, seeing the upgrades that we've done. I didn't go up on the roofs, and it's not because I'm afraid of heights, but, just for health purposes, I didn't go up on the roofs.
So,
Okay. Well, that'll take us to, item 5G, which is our student representative report.
Okay, so me and Tristan went to the. Tristan on Monday went with Dr. Stiles, Brooke, and Shannon to the Joint Finance Committee up in Hayward. And we gave speeches to all the senators and representatives there. So we're gonna share our speeches with you, and I have some pictures from the day, so.
Is it turned on?
I don't know. Okay, there we go.
And then this is a picture of Rick and Tristan with Senator Satchel. So that was really cool. You need to talk to him. You remember Tristan from the Senate Scholars, which is a good connection for us to have.
The amount of anxiety before you remembered him was awesome because he was up on the stage and what's that guy that was with him, like age or something? Patrick, that's right, went over to Rob on the stage and you could see that they were pointing in our direction and I could feel it radiating from Tristan. So then we took a break and we're having snacks out there and Rob came out and he's like, I don't know if he's gonna remember me. I'm like, you're gonna go talk, we're gonna go talk. He's like, I don't know. I'm like, go talk. And he remembered him right away, so it was really cool, yeah. So did Patrick, he took our picture.
And then this is just a picture of us standing up there. This is half of the stage, so the person all the way on the left, that was the committee clerk, and then the chair was on the right. But then Duke Tucker, our representative, ended up replacing him, so that was another familiar face for us to have up there. And then you can see Stachel and then Quinn, who are both other representatives and senators for our area. And then the other half, there were more people too. And then I just have this in there if anybody wants to go back and watch it. Ever, but Tristan and I will just read our speeches for you right now, so. Okay.
You can go first.
Okay. My name is Addison Newman, and I hope to become a teacher one day. I'm a senior and a student representative on the board of the Osceola School District. Osceola, like many other towns in Wisconsin, is known for its small-town charm, history, and a large number of its community who are proud to be farmers. I am one of them. 95% of farms in Wisconsin are family-owned. 50% of those farmers have a second job. And for 4 generations, my family has run our farm while also having full-time jobs. The Osceola School District faces a $1.6 million deficit for next school year. $1.6 million that has been taken out of the budget by cutting teacher positions, right-sizing school buildings, and decreasing the educational opportunities for our kids, who deserve the best education they can possibly receive. Ag education is perhaps one of the most essential and applicable areas of education in our district. Many of the students that go through our schools will have a career that somehow relates to the ag industry. Our ag department was cut in half last year due to the deficit, and our middle schoolers no longer receive ag ed. As teachers move on to new job opportunities, their positions are being replaced. I took business law last year and received college credit for the class because of my business teacher. He took a new job and his position disappeared because we no longer can afford to replace him. My sister is 5 years younger than me. How many opportunities, like business law or middle school ag classes, that I was blessed to take advantage of will she not have in 5 years? How far will these budget cuts go before schools can't even afford to hire the basic positions they need to educate their students? How are we supposed to educate our future farmers without the ag programs they need to thrive? How are we supposed to give our students the best education that they deserve? That choice is yours. I only ask for funding to balance the budget. I'm not asking for extra, I'm asking for enough. Please.
Mine starts off with a couple shout outs. Thank you, Senator Stachel, Senator Quinn, and Representative Tucker for being here today. My name is Tristan Bell. I hope to one day be in your shoes helping out better the state of Wisconsin. I come from a small town just off of Wisconsin 35. A small town called Osceola, where I attend high school as a junior. A place full of prosperous young minds ready to learn and grow, but for some, that dream is in jeopardy. 15% of Osceola students have an individualized education program, or an IEP. A lot think this may be unfair, but it's not. These young minds struggle to learn in ways that most would find easy. This label doesn't mean they aren't smart or gifted. These programs are meant to help the student thrive, but we aren't getting enough. My family used to call us Somerset home, but the school wasn't accommodating to my brother who has an IEP. Like any parent, mine wanted the best, so we moved to Osceola. The nightmare we hoped to leave behind followed. A joyful young man like my brother's, burdened with the responsibility of figuring things out on his own when his condition won't let him. Neglected, not because teachers don't want to, but because the teachers can't. Whether it be a lack of training, lack of staff, the latter being caused by a lack of funding, he has grown to resent school, not just our school, but the school system as a whole. So he finds other ways to enjoy school, like the ice fishing team, which is a place that could lose funding. We have already cut funding to face our $1.6 million deficit, sacrificing our business department, once called the school that everyone wanted to be at, now facing declining enrollment. Now the question is why? Maybe the lack of quality education, the lack of opportunities, all caused by the lack of enough, the broken promise. Imagine your child being neglected because their school wasn't getting enough. Not more, just enough, please. Keep your promise to not tell not just my brother, but the thousands of kids that suffer year after year because they don't get what they need. All we ask is enough. Keep your promise.
Well done. How many other students were there?
It was just us.
Oh,
Well, there was a college student.
College, yeah, all of the college students.
He was like 7 feet tall, I swear. But
thank you.
And I think two important pieces that come from this is one, after we got home that night, Representative Duke Tucker actually texted and said, I will do my part to try to increase special ed funding. We'll be in touch. Because, right, our students were going to the opportunity to meet him, and he ended up taking over the big job, so we never got the, I don't think he had lunch, I'm not sure if he did.
No.
So, right, so, that was positive, but also Shannon and I, received an email today from the Wisconsin Business Association where they said special ed funding begins to get traction after the joint finance committee meetings. It's a pretty big deal.
Advocacy matters.
I mean, the best part is obviously students talking about it. The second best part is you weren't asking for more. You're literally asking for what they said that they are supposed to be giving schools. We're not asking for more, that's the best part. We're just asking for what we're supposed to get. So, thank you both.
We did have a couple of representatives that came and stopped us after that were so impressed with our students. I know my speech got changed in the last minute. I didn't even read anything off my paper. We had a little timing debacle. We didn't think Tristan was gonna get to speak, so I gave him my time, and then I basically just shouted out how amazing our students were and that they need to stop or pushing through these unfunded mandates, right? Because we know the impact of that, and that we need to have enough funding. And Becky set the stage with our amazing Millicent legacy donation and how that amount is the same as our special ed. So we really brought it all together. We timed ourselves out in line to be exactly the same. That was a whole big thing. But then just see the representatives come and seek us out after. And they were just so impressed with our kids. It was just amazing. So it was a good day. It was a fun day. So yeah. So and I told them we won't have to come back in 2 years when we do it again.
Oh, I see.
Yes, no problem. Thank you. Thank you.
Thanks for coming out again.
Yeah. Alright. Anything else for you there, Miss Ann? How many days left of school you got? You're not coming? Okay.
That's what she told me.
Alright, item 6 is improving our instructional strategies supporting student learning. Item A is review and approve the 25-26 Osceola Virtual Academy.
We talked to you last time, Amanda talked to you last time about the cost breakdown, where we're at. And as we scroll to the bottom, the question was about what are we going to offer next year? Now, if you want to summarize the.
Sure.
Okay.
Yeah, so the last time we talked about, just the enrollment that we've had this last year, and we've increased our numbers, but only at the high school level. We had some elementary students who we paid for, and then because of all of the Act 20 and all the required assessments and reading plans that go along with those students ended up not being able to continue the OBA pathway. So just looking at, is OBA the best pathway for our elementary kids? It's still something we can offer for 6th through 12th grade. Just this year we didn't have any 6th, 7th, or 8th graders, but just thinking through what you want to offer for families. I still have people reach out to me, but then once they kind of learn because there's a learning coach that you have to provide as that elementary pathway. So just trying to figure out where you guys want to head with our online virtual academy.
And it's incredibly difficult to coordinate students who are on campus, right? I think we all would gather that, but it's 3 times a year now that they need to come in for testing. And then if they have a reading plan, they have to come in to get support. So that's why the parents that we had said, no, thank you.
And they can't just decline our support.
Right, they can't just say, no, we're not gonna, because they're part of our data.
And they have to come to us, we don't have to go to them?
Correct.
What happens if they don't? We just keep counting until they do, or?
Yeah, maybe.
I don't know yet.
Okay,
Yeah,
good.
Yes.
accountability
Yes.
wise,
Yeah.
it would probably, we'd have to start threatening with truancy, like we need you here on these days, even though you're part of our virtual program. Because ultimately, we're signing on that we're ensuring they're meeting our grade level standards and we're providing the support. So that's where it became really tricky. And then I talked a couple times, we're staring at each other like, if we want to accommodate this family, but their child is showing that they need additional support, and we can't do that virtually, and nor does our program offer, here, I'm gonna implement your game plan for you.
And do you know offhand how many kids are in the 6-8 program versus the 9-12?
We don't have any that were in 6H this past year.
Okay.
We have, all of our students are in 9th through 12th grade. A couple of those families, I think Becky had going all the way through, but we typically have a lot of juniors and seniors that ended up
That end
having.
up doing that.
And remember, kids can't open enroll into our virtual program either, they
Right.
need to be resident students.
Do you have an official recommendation as to what you would wish?
Based off of what we had this year and what our current enrollment is, I would still suggest that we do 6 through 12, still open the door for those middle schoolers if that's something that they need. Obviously keeping it for high school, because we do have a lot of high school students who use that and it is working well for them. But it's not as feasible for our elementary kids.
And the coaching aspect starts, or ends at what grade?
Fifth, goes through 5th grade.
I really believe in keeping as much as we can, keeping flexibility, variety, different kids, different families, different ways. I really think we need to at least with 6th grade up. I see both sides with these younger grades.
It's something we could still keep open and we're just explaining up ahead of time, like when you sign up, this is what you're signing up for as well. It's just, we didn't have any kids do it this year either, so. Or backed out once they realized what they needed to do.
Right, because maybe some families are up to that challenge of
Yeah.
bringing them in, throughout the year, but I don't.
And this year we still had to pay for those families because Act 20 wasn't in place as a requirement when we had to purchase all of their, curriculum and
Yeah.
sign them up, so.
Because the handbook could actually say, if you qualify for a reading plan, you must return back to school, because we get to make the rules, right, as opposed to, oh, you need to come in, because like scheduling interventions, it's like science, right?
Yeah.
A certain number of people, you're having students in and out,
Yeah.
and that's what I think happened this year, is they chose to do homeschool, because they said you need to become part of our system. Not ideal, and also we, right, would be putting, but again, we've had students who've gone through our program who haven't needed reading assistance to that this program.
Yeah, this is a unique situation because even their instructor that they meet with was saying, no, they need to go back to school, they're getting all the services that the student needs, and so that, like, there was pressure from both ends, my end saying we need to come in and do this assessment, and their teachers end saying they need to go in. So, kind of maybe a little bit more of a unique situation.
Right, board, that's really good.
I would like to keep it 6 to 12. I'm not gonna have to bring them in middle school kids want that opportunity.
What's your mission?
I can make that motion,
Alright,
I'll make
motion
that
by
motion.
Second by Cory. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye. Opposed would be nay. That is approved. Item 7, aligning and developing our facilities to best meet educational safety and security goals. Item 7A is facilities update.
Okay, I'm gonna invite some people to the table. Come on up, Jeff. Come on up, Mark. Come on up, Hunter. Bring your chairs up. Come on up.
The spinning
This is
chair.
getting serious, I better have more Starbucks.
So those of you who don't know, Mark Onley is our boys and girls tennis coach, I think. Is that right?
Not official.
Oh, okay, never mind. Perhaps gonna be our girls tennis coach too. Jeff Hahn is our athletic director. along with all the other things he does, and then under building grounds. So we just wanted to get a conversation. We saw the tennis courts today. These are our tennis teams from this year, right? Always important. These are the people who use them the most. They are not the only people who use them. Sorry, James, you haven't done any picture yet, but looking at aligning and developing our facilities to best meet the education, safety, and security goals. Right? Strategic roadmap. So history of the courts. Eventually, I'll be turning this over to them. I know when they take them out. The 4 courts on the north side, 2001. So think about how old they are now. And the 4 south courts and the single court were built in 2006. By the way, we fact checked that with Google Earth. So you know, we did have 2005 before, it's 2006. So currently, we have 9 courts. And as far as usable, we have 5 that are usable to host matches. Here you go, Hunter.
Causing them to crack and just make it unplayable surface. So the size of the school and the parking lots, all of our runoff goes that way. So it all goes towards 35. So we have to hold all of that water on our property. We can't just tunnel it down to the gas station and dump it all there or something. You know, we have to hold it there for a little while at least. So that because we have so much impermeable surface, that has caused all of the groundwater in that area, the water table to rise, and with freezing and thawing, it just hasn't been nice to the courts in that area. So we have excessive cracking, and then even the net posts, because of the non-stable ground there, if we tension the posts too much, they start to cave in, and then we run into issues with having to either replace them, or the nets aren't regulation height, stuff like that.
And even if the water table would have stayed the same, we're nearing the end of the life of
Yes.
those type of courts anyway.
Yep, yeah, those are all asphalt courts.
That's important that they've met like this. Any other reasons why the courts aren't usable, Mark, besides those?
Yeah, other than that, yeah, I mean, asphalt is typically 20 years, and so the 15 to 20 years is what they state is useful, so we're probably at that anyway. The cracking and heaving, obviously, safety issues, you can't plan it on the 5, and I would expect, well, on those 4, I would expect that we're going to see rapid deterioration, and the ones that were resurfaced in 2021.
23.
23.
Mm-hmm.
I think it was actually earlier than that, because this is at least my 3rd or 4th year on. But they're going to have catastrophic failure if they put 2. The hydrostatic pressure is separated. The first summer they were all separated from the surface that separated all the cracks. So they're dead for all balls that hit them, and I see that they're separating now and cracking through as well. So I would expect another frost cycle or 2. They bubble in the spring. If you go out there at frost, you can see huge mounds on every crack as it pushes up. So that should fail in the next year or 2. So they're beautiful now, but it's close.
And then the typical maintenance?
Yeah, so we, over the life of the courts, been trying to resurface them every 7 to 10 years. The resurfacing is basically just making it look really nice, as they do right now, but underneath there's still a lot of cracks and a lot of issues. It's just that they all look really nice, they're playable for right now. So the courts were, the 5 courts were crack filled and repainted in 23. The 4 north courts got damaged to repair. It's just not, it wasn't worth it to fill all of those cracks and repaint it just for possibly the next year them to not be playable.
And just for those, that we're not gonna put on the link, but I think it's isn't it $45,000 to resurface those?
So yeah, it just wasn't worth it. They would require too much to put into them to then not see that return. We wouldn't be expecting to get another 15 years out of it if we're just putting a Band-Aid over it. So in 22, the lowest bid that we got was $506,000. That would be replacing all 9 of the courts. We've seen that number has been all over the place, but that is at least the number that we got in 22. All of the courts are past their life expectancy, and then we'd have to do everything. So we'd have to replace fencing, we'd have to raise up the courts, possibly put like drain tile underneath, sand fill, and just a complete redo to the surface.
Because this estimate only had it raising a foot. We didn't have any drain tiles or any other drainage, it was just.
Right, yep, this is the lowest offer because it's a pretty much bare bones offer, or quote for us. The other ones that we saw, the study that was done in 22 as well, that was quoted out at $800,000 to $900,000 for an asphalt court, or the post-tension concrete would be 1.2 to 1.3 in that study.
And that concrete lasts how much longer? What's the life? Talk to me about that.
Yep, in that study, it says that the asphalt would be 15 to 20, the concrete would be 40 to 50.
Years.
Years, yes, years.
So if you can come up with the cash, it lasts twice as long. With the same base? Or is it need different prepping?
You mean as far as the concrete versus asphalt?
Yeah.
I would guess it would be the same prep work underneath. You're gonna try to get max life expectancy. We're gonna have to get the water out from under it.
So tennis, when did it start? 2001 with 4 courts. I'm sorry, we had 4 courts, and then that's what we used for BIED, right? And then 2003, the first girls tennis program started. And then quite a few years later, 2011, the girls tennis team began. And in 2006, we had the 5 additional courts. So we have JV and varsity boys and girls tennis, WIA programs.
Yeah, so you can kind of see that this is combined registrations for, in the last 5 years for our boys and girls programs. You can see that we were slowly, and then 5 courts became kind of unplayable, and whether it be looking at the courts, or just not being able to get as much time on the courts, we can see our numbers start to decline in that as well. So you're looking at least a correlation between the deterioration of the courts and our tennis teams.
That's said by a math teacher. Go ahead, you can go.
So really, why do we need 9 courts? Why do we need 8 or 9? Essentially, the more courts you have, the less academic time our tennis teams lose. When we have to start, if we want to try to get a match in, and before, especially early season, spring, or late season, fall, if we want to get enough daylight, we have to start early. The other thing is that we are allowed to have 14 matches, and 6 of those, 6 or 7 get to be multis. So we end up in that situation where we can't host a multi without taking our kids out of school for almost half a day. So that means that our kids play fewer matches and are then at a disadvantage competitively and experientially, I would just say as well. We cannot host, currently, we cannot host any kind of subsectionals or sectionals. We can't host a WIA playoff event at home because we don't have enough courts. Yeah, and then we are, Prescott Sacred Central don't have tennis. We bring in Regis and Unity to run with our conference. Currently, Altoona, Amory, Baldwin, those are the sites that typically host our conference tournament because they have pretty nice facilities. Regis does.
Anybody have any questions about the team?
All right, here we go.
Yeah, so this is our single court.
AKA the cage.
Yes.
So you can see this is the one that's to the right of the original 4. If you're looking at 35, and you can see on the left-hand side, you can see the deteriorated court to the left there.
Yep, and these are photos. The one on the right shows the warped fence, and then the one on the left shows the post caving in after we put the net up. And yeah, these are more photos of the north courts.
You can see that net's not even really tensioned to there, and it's still pulling those posts in. So you can literally lift those out of the ground.
Yep, and these are photos from the study that was done in 2022.
This is from the other day. This is drone photo comparison between what we have, the resurface courts and the courts that have no longer played.
This is the proximity to the swamp. So the left photo is behind the single court. The one in the middle is behind the unusable courts, actually in the corner by the single court. And then the one on the right is the northwest corner of those unusable courts. As you can see in the photo on the right, we get about 10 feet of mowed grass there, and then we are into the swamp. These are the usable courts.
Which is, as you can see, any standing water there, I mean, those are fault lines. Those are going to be issues very soon.
So right, we have JV varsity, who's spring, fall. We have captain's practices over the summer. This is the student staff tennis tournament, which is a super fun event, and yes, that is Rick Stewart wearing a tutu with his partner. And you can see Andy Willen and his partner were the winners this year. Jeff, have you ever been a winner?
Well,
Julie's been
not
a winner.
in tennis.
Yes, I meant in the staff too. Julie, have you been a winner?
I have.
Have I ever been a winner?
You have.
Yeah, okay.
Wow. That felt prepared.
And it wasn't actually, but Jeff really gives a good effort.
I won a week of limping around.
Shannon doesn't like to hear about that. The Phi Ed, grades 5-12, they were actually over there. It was funny when we were standing out there the other day. I was standing out there with Jeff, and I'm like, that guy's got a great serve. Like, that's the place to recruit people, for real. Like, I was like, he doesn't play tennis, but he can serve like a beast. And there was another guy over there that I know from pickleball that was serving someone. Summer school classes, we offer summer school tennis to get students excited about it. We used to have open tennis. What's his name? Mr. Chronic used to come in and open tennis on Mondays that you could just come and play, and then some summer camps. And I think you were looking at starting some
We
summer.
are, yes.
Try to get the kids out there to play. And the other part that's really cool in our community is we don't lock our gates. So public can come and use the tennis courts whenever they want to. And they do. If you drive by in the evenings, you see them. Hey, this was
All
so
right,
fun.
time lapse. So it's hard to see, but up in the upper left-hand corner, in fact, I get it. I think that's the 1991. I'm going to stand up just so I can see it.
Yeah, I can see
From
it.
where I am.
I think that's 93.
No, this one's 91.
91?
91. No high school here. This is aerial photo of 1991. This, by the way, is 2023. So this one will stay static, so we can see kind of what's going to happen as we go. This was 2003. There's our 4 courts, our 4 initial courts. Resolution isn't all that great. This is 2006. You can still see where this is where we had added the additional 4 and that one right there. And you can even still see the straw still down, so this is where we did add those. Here's 2012, so they're still all nice and green. You're starting to see, if you're looking at this, this is definitely a little bit better surface, and that's better surface. You can start seeing this to struggle. You can also see, oh, run that back one more. You can also see where the water runs off towards the swamp. All right, and here's our first resurface, but this was 2016. So this resurfacing that happened here, you can still see that we have some issues where these water runs, these are actually some cracks that are actually already starting to form in those. So this would be 2016, so these courts are now, 2001, 15 years old. So these are 15 years old, and we had to resurface them. So these courts, we did not choose to resurface. They were okay at that point, but you see that we had to resurface them right away in 2018 to get that done. Okay, so this is 2018. Oh, there we go. And that was 2018, and now here you can kind of see the difference here between, here's our nice courts here that have just recently been resurfaced. You can see these starting to distress here from that aerial footage. This isn't necessarily as bad as you think. This truck right here, we think is the pressure washer that's here trying to resurface stuff. So that's just cleaning there on that side. And then, good.
You know, Hunter, on that picture, look at how different the trees were, like the ones that you're talking about dredging. Look at how much more dense they are in 2023.
This one's in May and this one's in June, so that's a little bit different.
But still, I mean, you
Yep.
have to, probably think that there's probably a lot more water runoff, and obviously the year depends on all of that, but, I mean, even the trees above there, I mean, obviously that year plays a factor.
Yeah,
but
that's very
all of
true.
that water is going somewhere, right? I mean, that's the kicker. All of that between us and 35 is all swamp, so.
Right, yeah, because this is, I see what you're saying now.
Yeah.
Well, that density matches that density.
Correct.
And that density definitely doesn't match that.
Yep.
Yeah, we didn't notice that. That's a good
And we had a good, we were looking at Google Earth, just like you were, bro. We were having all that. Go ahead, Jalal.
So that one is,
This is 2018,
and that one is,
2023. That's the most recent one that Google Earth has.
so was it more swamp then? And less
It would look-
deciduous trees?
It would look that it's not. It would look like it's not, but,
I think it was drier here.
It sure looks like it.
Right. Well, and that's the question, is where does the water table in reference to the surface of those, the
Right.
asphalt? Because we had 8 inches or better of rain in October and November, and the water table came up. We had the same problem with roads, and if frost goes 4 feet to 5 feet down, if you're not out of your water table, there's nothing you're gonna do that's gonna keep that from being.
Sure.
Because the frost is lower than you can go.
And that would be
So
part
is
of our
that-
bid process, is that would be trying to raise those courts so that way we're above the water table. Yep, and I think also the drain tile, I mean, you would know better than us, but the drain tile piece would help that as well. But if it's at the water table, it's just gonna sit on it.
Correct. Is there enough elevation, how far do you have to go up? Is that the best spot?
The roof difference centers.
Yes, yep.
So.
Oh, yeah,
We
right
walked
there.
on this.
Rocks.
That's what I was gonna ask,
Yep.
is that the rock?
Yep, that's all the rock.
Wow.
Yep.
What a difference the weight makes. It's crazy. What a good feeling.
All right. So this right here is Chisago's new courts. This is 10 tennis courts, and 6 pickleball courts sitting there. And these are, well, maybe the next slide is appropriate then too. If we do nothing, we're gonna end up with usable courts that are gonna pass their expectancy, they will become unusable. All right, numbers decline. All right, what happens to this program? Well, we gotta do a couple things here. So I looked into renting space at the facility, at that Chisago facility, for a mere $30 per court per hour. So we could build some courts pretty quickly at that rate. And maybe we could start renting ours out when we build the new ones. So we end up, or I mean, if we don't have any place to play, we're gonna have to dissolve the program. I mean, I don't think we're looking for ways to diminish opportunities for kids here. We're trying to preserve as many opportunities as we can to provide those. It makes Osceola what Osceola is. An excellence piece this is part of the excellence piece, right?
Okay, and why tennis courts matter, right? opportunities for all students. It's a primary sport for many students. There's a lot of kids that play tennis, that's their only sport. You know, it's a valuable opportunity. Community connection, there's a huge piece to that. The whole equity in athletics, right? Courts are required. We have to keep the facility up if we want to have the program. We could make it a multi-use facility. We've learned some things about adding pickleball stripes off-season, because you can't do that for WIA, but you can put temporary courts on, and that would be a huge bonus. I know we talked about it at Unity. That was something that their school district, he called it the lake people, wanted to have the courts striped, so they just put tape on the courts, because in order for WIA, you can't have them striped during matches. Support for community wellness and recreation, long-term district value, as to what Jeff said, this is who we are. And it's definitely a multi-generational sport. So I just want to be very clear. I think I've made it obvious that I'm a tennis proponent, but that's my mom in 1980. And that's me in 1987. Yep. And that's my kids. So I have a bias. So I'm putting it out there. Okay, where do we go from here?
Yeah, so this is basically those pictures on the bottom are 2 optional places. The one on the left is what courts could look like if they had the same, that's the same orientation as the courts on the right as far as north and south, just for the sun, for when you're playing. So that is the current soccer field up by the intermediate school. So that is one possible location. Otherwise, could look at putting them in the same spot and just completely redoing them.
And we would regain some spots, if we decided to do the intermediate school option, we would then be able to, we'd regain some green space at the high school for the soccer facility to practice at when we have track meets, so they still have a spot to go. So it's not like we're sacrificing the soccer playing field just for the tennis facility. Yeah. So we will have spots for it.
Yep.
Yeah. So location is one piece, right? But we don't know what the difference would be in cost. And, right, in all honesty, it's a little bit scary to think about putting them back in a swamp, because we haven't had great success where they are. But I can also say that the field down here, the football field, had some significant water issues. And what we did down there to raise it and put drainage under there has been very successful. So again, not a civil engineer, so I don't know what the right answer is. So we looked at locations, but we've also looked at some funding options. In talking to Mark, the USTA has a $200,000 grant that we have started having conversations with them about. I reached out to TCO in a random email and just said, hey, would you like to give us $350,000? And they emailed back and said, tell us more. So then I emailed back and pulled a whole big story. And then they emailed back just today and said, hey, we're gonna pass it on up, we'll let you know. I don't know, you gotta try, right? Right, so, but like even working with TCO, it's really difficult because we really don't know what the cost is, because we have a 2022, it's been a long time, right? And then asphalt versus non-permeable concrete.
Yeah, and for the USTA grant, we're kind of at a stopping point, because we can't start construction until we get the grant, but we can't get the grant without the plans for construction. So we're kind of at an impasse there with we need a full plan to move forward, but it's in the grant that we can't move forward until we have the grant.
Just looking for some direction from the board, right,
Yep.
to move forward. We kind of mentioned this, for me, as an engineer, this is, the scope of this project is pretty large, so we're looking to partner with CC10 to help us facilitate that RFP process. It's going to cost some money, are there very reasonable costs associated with it? They built in if we move forward with the project, after we get the RFP and then the board chooses to move forward with it, and we build those costs into the overall scope and then cost. So if you, as a board, give us permission, we can then partner with them to start moving forward with it.
So I have a question that's kind of random, but Mark, maybe you're gonna be able to answer it best, but why the offset courts like that at an angle? Like, see how this one is offset, and I know they were added separately, but why wouldn't you have all four lined up and four lined up? Why are they off? They're like at an angle with each other.
Right, why are 3 courts overlapping and then you have the 2 kicker courts on the sides, you say?
Well, kind of, but like, instead of having all of these be like this,
Oh.
they're at an angle like this, where there's one out here. Is it just so that you can allow more people to watch? Is it?
Part of it's orientation with the sun.
Okay.
For that angle.
Okay.
And part of it too is just to fit that specific space. Because we have if we tried to, the top 4 courts, if we move them left, then we are working into the drainage area for that parking lot.
Mm-hmm.
The bottom 4 courts, if we move them to the right, we are into that hill and into the concession stands. So that's just more or less to fill that space. And I think kind of similar to the current courts, those are kicked out a little bit because that road has always been there going around the back of the high school. So just to provide enough space for drainage from that road and everything that would be kicked out.
Would it be 8 instead of 9 in this bottom one, or that's something you would look at with an RFP and everything? Or are you looking at?
I think 8 are gonna fit there.
Yeah.
I mean, 9 is ideal.
Right.
10 would be awesome. So that would all be RFP and see, okay, is it, yeah, because it's, cost per court, I would imagine, starts to go down eventually, because you got all the dirt work here anyway.
Mm-hmm.
So the difference from going between 8 to 9 courts might not be,
right.
I mean, it's gonna be money, but it's not gonna be as much as going from 0 to 1 court.
And also there are pieces, like Mark and I chatted, like you need or should have windscreen. And if you're ever been to the Baldwin courts, there's an alley down the middle so you can coach all of your athletes appropriately. And we don't necessarily have the right kind of fencing right now. That's actually, we put up windscreen and that's why the fence is all walled.
Yeah, that's part of the reason.
Like even a hitting wall, so that you can go out and play on your own without having a partner, like those kinds of pieces. So those are some of the things like we built to TCO, like if you want it to be a TCO facility, we'll put your name on the hitting wall, we'll have a bench with your name on it, like tell us what you need, because we wanna partner with you, because we would like to have a facility, because let's be honest, right, we all know, like, we're operating in a deficit. So, like, that is not something that any of us are gonna pretend it's not happening. So, what information would you need from us to be able to, at the next meeting, say yes or no to move forward with partnering with CSA 10 perhaps to get an RFP, getting some RFPs so we can even talk about what is the cost we're talking about. Because the 2022 bid is not an accurate, the other beautiful part if we move on top of the hill is there's a concession stand there already and there's parking. And the intermediate school building students would easily be able to access that. And then we get younger athletes starting, because I don't know if you realize this, in Osceola, the majority of kiddos that start playing tennis start their freshman year. Because they've either done it in summer school, unless they have a family that plays tennis, you can pick up a racket for your very first time and go out there and end up varsity athlete.
What great exposure for tennis to have it in the other location, where people can actually drive by and see too.
And it would also be open to our community, because right now, we don't necessarily want people coming onto the high school campus to come to the courts. We don't necessarily kick them off. Mark had guests at his practice the other day that came from the community.
We often have people in the community using one, if we're not on the court, they're coming to see if they can use it. Tennis is an interesting, I mean, Osceola has a good opportunity with tennis because there's not great tennis access in northern Wisconsin. And so I can't count how many people come up to me and ask, how do we, tell me about your tennis program. I had someone from St. Clair Falls the other day because they don't have tennis. I had a couple of people from the private school here, and everyone that doesn't have tennis, it's just not, there's not a lot of options around here. So if you're not over in Chisago, Richmond. It's Richmond, Amory, that's it. And so, there's also a competitive advantage here because we're close enough to the cities that people that really want to play have some ability to play in the winter, which is always a problem for tennis in the Midwest, right? It's not a year-round sport, unless you have access to another facility. So we have a competitive advantage there. But if I think Osceola is the type of sport that probably starts to pick up kids because of that. All but 3 of my 18 kids, tennis is their only sport. They don't play other athletics, and so it's a little unique that way. It's in most years I have 0 kids that play other sports, so it's an interesting dynamic.
Are you looking for direction on the board in one of these options? Are you looking for permission just to move forward? Okay.
Partners is a cost.
Yep. Any support of that?
I'd like the opportunity to ask some of the questions, like to an engineer. Is there a way to contact them?
That would be a hunter.
Yeah, what was that? I would like, can we table for 2 weeks, so I can get with Hunter and talk to him and see what the deal is? I have a few more questions about water table, what it takes, material-wise, what it takes.
Is that gonna change your decision
think-
on moving it forward?
Moving it forward
Yeah.
or location?
Yeah, because location I think is to
Oh,
be determined, right?
right,
So I think,
location.
to get this process going and to get these people onboarded, that's what's being asked of us right now. Details of the future with the RFPs and where we put it in the details of that are to come out in the future, right? So. That's my understanding. Looking at the other.
They would engage a civil engineer too. That's just something that obviously.
Right.
I would love to hear more about, I wanna hear more about the location areas, sizes. I'd love to hear, and with a soccer field? Field is the right word.
Pitch,
Something,
soccer pitch.
thank you, fit in that swamp area that the tennis courts currently aren't working at?
Well, we would be able to utilize not only that area, but the football practice field is down and to the left in that picture, is it directly adjacent. So that's, we just have to line it.
I don't want to come out and say, yeah, we're done with soccer now.
Yeah, no.
Well, and soccer majority practice is on the football field.
And, yes, most of the time they practice on the football field. And if the athletic director would be better, he would just make sure they schedule away games on the days that we have track meets, so that way we don't have conflict, but he's still learning.
We're gonna grant him grace, whoever he is.
And you don't have problems with water building up on the soccer field now, like standing water when it rains and the drainage is there?
Yeah, so the drainage on the current soccer field, is fairly good. The only issue is the bottom left corner. A little bit into the woods there is actually a retention pond. So all of the water from the softball field, varsity baseball field, it all kind of goes behind the fields and is supposed to funnel into that. So that back side of the soccer field sometimes can get wet, but the front side is definitely always dry.
But you're asking tonight for permission to move forward with an RFP for the turf professionals, for people that have a lot more knowledge than I do. To look into, to see what this might look like and what it might cost, so that we can then,
With all the options,
with all of the options,
to make an informed, educated decision.
Okay. But, and we kind of need to do that before we know the funding impact, because we need to kind of be able to know, to tell TCO or whoever, what we're looking at for requests before we move forward.
Yeah, because if if the answer is no, or we're not gonna go forward at all, then we can all stop stop the roll, you know what I mean? So I guess we're looking for,
Just permission to learn more.
to move forward.
Unless you're saying, no, we're done with tennis. No.
Right.
To me, this is no different than gymnasium floor. We need to see what it's going to cost to fix it, what that would look like. And we support of that.
Thank you for all your work on this. It's an amazing team of people, they're doing stuff.
Thank you.
Thank you for your time, thanks for being here.
All right. Next committee meeting is scheduled for Wednesday, May 14th, 2025 at 5 p.m. in the district office conference room. The next regular board meeting is scheduled for Wednesday, May 14th, 2025 at 6:30 p.m. in the district office conference room. With that, I would entertain a motion to adjourn into executive session pursuant to Wisconsin statute 1985-1G, conferring with legal counsel of the governmental body who is rendering oral or written advice concerning strategy to be adopted by the body with respect to litigation in which it is or is likely to become involved. Motion by Corey, second by Kyle. Roll call, Jan.